morning and welcome to this Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, 9:29 a.m. joint committee agenda between the Hawaii State Senate Committees on Commerce and Consumer Protection and our friends from the Committee on Judiciary to hear HB 2742 HD1 relating to the Landlord-Tenant Code. This measure extends the notice period for summary possession proceedings from 5 days to 15 days for failure to pay rent. It requires landlords to provide the notice to mediation centers and requires landlords to enter into mediation if scheduled by a tenant, which will delay when a landlord may file an action for summary possession, except in cases where a tenant cancels the mediation or does not appear. The measure also restricts when landlord remedies are available depending on the amount of rent due and makes an appropriation. First up, we have for the Judiciary, Jeffrey Crabtree in support. The Hawaii Realtors with comments.
Thank you. We stand with our comments.
Thank you very much. Mediation Center of the Pacific in support. We also have supporting testimony from the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii, Kuikahi Mediation Center, and Mediation Centers of Hawaii. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Chair, do we need to recess for discussion?
I don't think so. Go ahead if you
Okay,
want to make a recommendation.
well then the recommendation on this measure is to pass it out with amendments will affect the effective date to July 1, 2040. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair votes aye.
Thank you for, let's see. House Bill 2742, House Draft 1, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair also votes aye. Senator McKelvey is excused, Senator Richards,
Aye.
Senator Awa. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Of course, it's the same recommendation for JDC. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Senator Gabbard for the vote.
Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Elefante?
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Awa? Excused? Measure passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Okay, good morning, welcome back. This is our Senate Commerce and Consumer Protection Committee Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, 9:30 a.m. agenda in room 224. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the event we need to abruptly end the hearing due to technical difficulties, we will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business tomorrow, March 21st at 10:31 a.m. so that we can make recommendations on these measures before the lateral deadline. I'll just note for everyone attending in person and on Zoom that we have multiple agendas today and we are up against the deadline. So in this committee, we observe a 2-minute testimony limit to ensure that everyone who has submitted testimony does have the opportunity to testify verbally. We have received, if you submitted written testimony, we have received it, we have read it. There were hundreds of pieces of testimony on this first 9:30 a.m. agenda. There are several individuals from the community who would like to testify. I would respectfully ask, as we've done in prior hearings, that you not read your written testimony verbatim because we've already read it. If it's your first time in the legislature and you're a little nervous, it's okay. But if you're a professional, please stand on your testimony unless you need to make clarifying remarks, which are fine. And you may be asked by members of the committee to come up and answer questions. And the same goes for everyone on Zoom. We can tell when you're reading from the screen. The first measure is HB 2278 HD2 relating to labeling of macadamia nuts. This measure clarifies the labeling requirements for macadamia nuts and requires the country of origin to be included on the principal display panel of a consumer package of processed macadamia nuts. First up, we have the Hawaii Department of Agriculture in support.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee, Vice Chair. The Department of Agriculture stands on our written testimony and support.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. Next, we have Island Harvest Incorporated in support. Good morning.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee. Andrew Trump in support of this bill. I'm going to stand on my written testimony. Just want to make sure that I'm available for comments and questions afterwards. And just a few comments is that, the MacNut industry is in sharp decline. There continues to be misleading labeling on the shelves of supermarkets, and this is preventing Hawaii MacNut farmers from being able to distinguish their products. Those are the gist of our struggles as Hawaii MacNut farmers, and we just want transparency in terms of how we are able to market our products and consumers to be able to recognize that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Suzanne Schreiner of the Synergistic Hawaii Agriculture Council in support. Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Very briefly, we stand on our testimony, but I also want to highlight something that Mr. Trump just mentioned, that we have nuts from Kenya and South Africa that are grown at half the price. We have China coming online with millions of trees over the next 5 years that are absolutely going to crash the global market for macadamia nuts. The one way that we can stand out and protect our growers here in Hawaii is through proper labeling. If it says Hawaii on the label, we have the origin on the label, we can protect our growers here. Our brand stands out. One of the things that SHAC does is we receive federal marketing grants on behalf of coffee, papaya, macadamia nuts, and floriculture. And I can tell you the global market is hungry for Hawaiian products, and they want to see that on the label. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Scott Enright for the Macadamia Growers of Hawaii in support.
Chair, I'll stand on my written testimony as strong.
Thank you very much for standing on your testimony. Hunter Hevelin for the Hawaii Farmers Union in support online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have Nathan Trump for the Hawaii Macadamia Nut Association in support. Good morning.
Hi, Chair. Morning. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Nathan Trump with the Hawaii Macadamia Nut Association, standing in strong support, and will stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Michelle Leon Guerrero for Hawaiian Host Group in opposition. Good morning.
Aloha. Good morning,
Aloha.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michelle Leon Guerrero. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer at Hawaiian Host Group. I stand on my written testimony in opposition of the bill with some additional comments. I'm here today to represent our team at Hawaiian Host Group, but also as somebody who's proud to be born and raised in Hawaii and wants to be part of making the island's future flourish. At HHG, we've worked hard to bring jobs back to Hawaii. Employ hundreds of team members, including generations of families, build a strong team proud to work for a Hawaii-based company. And we've grown this business in Hawaii while supporting a lot of other jobs in our community for almost 100 years. I share this because this bill is not just about labeling. This bill will put local jobs at risk and hurt local businesses like ours. Yes, we can all agree that the Hawaii macadamia industry at large is facing difficult times, but the solution is not through stringent labeling. We need time to develop a plan that will increase processing capacity in Hawaii. That is what will help our industry move forward. This bill will make it more complicated and expensive for growers and processors like HHG to be able to operate in Hawaii. We've been the primary purchaser and processor for all the small growers, and this bill makes that so much harder to continue to sustain. Some say Hawaiian Host Group is just one local business, and I may be just one local board trying to make a difference. But I believe that your decision on this bill today has impacts on many lives, right? And it can't be easily undone. And so our industry stands to lose, I think, a lot more than it has to gain with this bill. And for these reasons, we ask you to please defer this measure to allow us more time to create a balanced plan that supports both local agriculture and local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Jeffrey Clark for the Hamakua Macadamia Nut Company in support. Good morning.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Clark. I'm the president of Hamakua Macadamia Nut Company. I'm in full support of this labeling bill, and I'll stand on my testimony. And I'm here for questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Give me just a second. Okay, thank you for that. Next up, we have Kamale in opposition. Good morning. Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have by individuals who indicated they would be present in the hearing. In total, in terms of written support submitted, there were 169 testifiers who supported this measure, 185 that opposed. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure, HB 2278 HD2? Members' questions? Senator Richards.
Thank you. Hawaiian Host Group, Michelle Leon Guerrero. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate the comments. I mean, you mentioned putting jobs at risk. Why?
This would require us to look at how we're operating because it's a little more complicated for a business our size to be able to put a percentage of origin, right? Specifically on a printed package because we are unable to put stickers because of the size of our business that they would not allow us to operate that way.
Are you talking too big or too small? When you say the size of the business?
I think it's too big. I think for where we produce, they wouldn't allow us to put a sticker with a percentage of, macadamias from specific origin. They would probably require it to be printed on the packaging. And this is also something that would be only required in Hawaii. And so for the rest of the 49 states and other countries, that wouldn't require it.
For MacNut to say Hawaii, they could manufacture them.
Put the percentage.
Because we've dealt with this in the cattle industry before. And I hear what you're saying, and I do understand. That's why we tried to get at this a year ago, and I didn't get any response from your group when I was trying to work on this a year ago. And I'm not sure I agree with that, because do you believe and do you support truth in labeling?
Senator, I believe that, we are producing in Hawaii and doing our best to ensure that we are purchasing as much local macadamias as we can.
And I don't disagree with that, and I fully support what you guys are trying to do. But I think we need to protect our branding. And so I hear what you're saying. Do you see a common ground or middle ground in this?
I think that we can. I think it requires discussion, which I know that we.
Which I tried to start a year ago, correct?
And I apologize, and I came to you and said that this was definitely something that we wanted to work through with the committee.
This is time sensitive because we have farmers that are on the cusp, and I understand that, so. Okay, we'll have a further conversation. Chair, I'm going to yield at this point. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Senator McKelvey.
How much of your nuts is from like overseas, from like China, Australia, et cetera? I mean, what's your average of like percentage of foreign Mac nuts as opposed to ones in Hawaii in a can or a product of your stuff?
I think that question, it varies year to year depending on the crop in Hawaii. And we try to purchase as much local macadamias as the growers will sell to us.
So you purchase 100% of their production then?
We try to, whatever is available to us that they're willing to sell.
I guess the thing that my concern is, I would share the thoughts of my new colleague here, is if the nuts of Mac nuts from China are like 2 cents a nut, and all of this is being just looked at as simply price point inventory, then I could easily see a box of your products being 100% from China. And that's kind of my concern, because if economics is the arbiter of supply, then you could have that there, that could play out, right? I mean, you could have a situation where we have 70-80% of our products are MAC nuts from overseas because it's cheaper for us to bring them in.
I understand that concern, and that is why we have been focused on trying to figure out how we can work together to build, a processing facility so we can process all of the macadamias here in Hawaii and not have them go overseas to places like China to be processed and not be clear on what is actually coming back and if they truly are Hawaiian macadamias.
I think that's something that everybody agrees on, is more processing facilities for
Yeah.
these guys and a whole lot of other ag producers. But thank you for sharing that info.
Thank you.
Chair.
Members,
Thank you
any
so
other
much.
questions? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next measure. HB 2298, House Draft 1, relating to consumer protection. This measure proposes to establish a timeline by which roasted coffee, instant coffee, and ready-to-drink coffee beverages that use a geographic origin in labeling or advertising are required to contain a certain % coffee by weight from that geographic origin. It also requires wholesalers to sell off their inventory of roasted coffee, instant coffee, or ready-to-drink coffee beverages in anticipation of phased-in labeling requirements taking effect. This measure exempts retailers that do not package roasted coffee, instant coffee, or ready-to-drink coffee beverages from liability for the sale of roasted coffee, instant coffee, or ready-to-drink coffee beverages that use a label or advertisement in violation of the labeling law. First up, Hawaii Department of Agriculture with comments. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture. The department stands on our submitted testimony, but want to highlight that the fewer changes over time in the version of this bill is operationally easier. And I don't want to say easier is a reason to go ahead and pass the bill, but operationally for the farmers and the department, it would be easier to enforce. And of course, 100% is operationally the easiest to enforce. So that's it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I'd like to, I was reminded by my staff to ask everyone to please speak into the microphone so that we can catch your voice on the feed. So be like the chair, she did a good job. Next, we have Lauren Zerbel for the Hawaii Food Industry Association with comments. Do we have her online?
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Roger Kaivi of the Kona Coffee Council in opposition. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. I stand on my testimony, but I just wanted to add a few comments of how devastating this would be for the rest of the industry. There is, and we always do support 100% Kona. However, we fully support selling all of our product. Those of us that are here today still have warehouses full of coffee that we can't sell from the lawsuit that our customers were sued in the mainland last year. So we want to keep this open so we can continue to do commerce and keep our businesses and our farms. Thanks, guys, for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Gerard Bastance for Hawaii Coffee Company in opposition. I panicked when I saw it in print, and so now I know what a lot of people feel like when they do mine, so please correct me if I
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having me. It's Gerard Bastian's Hawaii Coffee Company. And once I heard Gerard, I started moving up, so I figured I was the only Gerard in the room, so we're all good. I can go by one name.
I just want to make it clear, sometimes names are hard to pronounce.
I understand. We share the pain, so thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Gerard Bastian, President of the Hawaii Coffee Company. In the interest of time, we stand on our written testimony. I just wanted to point out a couple of things very briefly. First, we want to thank the House CPC Committee for hearing the many concerns of the industry and making some amendments to this bill. And three things to call out that I think are the most significant are, one, just to reiterate that this bill definitively will cost jobs, not only at our facility, with reduction in workforce, but also our ability to support local partners in the industry here. So it will have a negative economic impact on Oahu, and I think that was well documented in the House committee by many people. Two is the study. I think we all, unfortunately, acknowledge that the study was rushed. It wasn't particularly well done due to time and funding. So the data is a little challenging to go ahead and enforce major legislation on it. And third, we do have concerns we just wanted to highlight again regarding this bill restricting trademark use, specifically in the state of Hawaii, and how that likely conflicts with federal trademark laws, regulations, and may make the bill unenforceable at the end of the day. And we'd like to have the committee please look at that to potentially make adjustments there so that the bill will be clean. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, I'd just like to note to the members, we have a 9:35 a.m. decision-making agenda on HB 1838, which is the vacation rental bill in which we took testimony yesterday and are prepared to make a decision with two other committees. As soon as we have quorum on those two other committees, we will recess this agenda and take that vote. So we're not just skipping over you guys. We gotta do some business and then we'll get right back on the agenda. Next, we have Joshua Montgomery for Gardwell Farm in support online.
Good morning. I'm Joshua Montgomery and I run Gardwell Farm. We're located on Hualalai, just above Kailua Kona on the Big Island, and we sell our coffee brand under the brand Kona Kaiju. Here in Kona, we grow the best coffee in the world, full stop. We also have some of the most expensive operating costs in the world. High land costs, high labor costs, high shipping costs for both inputs and our final crop. In order to thrive and survive here in Hawaii, we need to get the best possible price for our crop, and that means protecting our brand. As you know, we're one of the only geographies in the world that allows its geographic name to be used on products that are not 100% from that region. And that needs to change. Blenders buy a small amount of Kona coffee, blend it with cheap coffees from other countries, and get the benefits of our reputation without actually shipping our product. It's like somebody putting a Mercedes-Benz seat in a Ford Fiesta and then selling it as a Mercedes. It's dishonest and it damages the brand. The study the legislator commissioned last year demonstrably proves that allowing the blending of our coffee with cheap coffees from other regions hurts farmers. It lowers the price of the product, damages our brand, and makes it even harder to farm here in Hawaii. And the numbers bear that out. We've lost more than 700 farms in the last 5 years because it's so expensive to operate here. Members of the legislature are constantly saying that they want to support local agriculture. Well, here's an opportunity to do it. And it isn't going to take 10 years. The justification for slow rolling the change is that retailers need to clear inventory. Since quality coffee keeps only for a single year, it's completely reasonable to phase out all Kona blends by 2027. This bill also prevents enforcement via tort, which takes away an important tool that coffee growers have used in the past to protect our brand. Please help to protect farmers, protect consumers, and protect our agriculture sector by insisting that coffee with our geography on it is 100% grown here in Hawaii. And do it quickly before we lose even more small farms to Hawaii's high cost of living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Kolhauer Bandera of Kanalani Ohana Farm in support online.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Kolhauer Bandera. I speak to you from our family organic farm in Honau now. Please do support HB 2298. I stand by my written testimony, and I just wanted to add a few comments because really consumer deception is our farm's biggest challenge with marketing. And I was just invited to represent Kona Coffee on a panel at a World Intellectual Property Organization, which is part of the United Nations supported event in Guadalajara, Mexico in April. And frankly, I want to make sure that we can truthfully talk about what's happening. And I think HB 2298 follows a lot of years, not a few years, of effort to protect what's happening in not just Kona, but Hawaii coffees. And I think that the 2023 Department of Ag economic study was a great process to occur, but it also is repetitive of what happened in 2010 when an economist, Dr. Feldman, did a study and they reached similar conclusions. Farmers are suffering economically as a result of existing rules, and changes would mean that farmers are better supported and consumer deception would wane. And this is historical reasoning. And it's very important that we do not allow this legislation to be postponed over more than the original bill language of a 3-year phase-in. Please return that to the piece of legislation. And really thank you for your consideration of this piece of legislation in general, but I think a compromise of less than 100% from the original language, even though it might be tolerable, talk about something like 75%, for example. Don't go lower or consider going lower than the majority of using the geographical names of Hawaii origin on a product. It doesn't make any sense, and there shouldn't be exceptions of how. And just, to wrap up.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I was just saying to
Thank
wrap
you very
up.
much.
Okay.
We are going to recess this agenda and move into that decision-making that I just mentioned. Immediately thereafter, we have Susan Schreiner followed by Christine Maston. So we will recess. Okay, good morning and welcome to this 9:35 a.m. decision-making agenda. This is a joint decision-making between the Committees on Commerce and Consumer Protection, Energy, Economic Development and Tourism, and the Committee on Government Operations to consider HB 1838 House Draft 2. This measure was heard in this committee yesterday, and decision-making was deferred until now. Having conferred with the members, we're going to recommend the following. We will pass this measure with amendments and replace the language in this bill with the language from Senate Bill 2919, Senate Draft 2, which was the companion measure that was heard and passed out of the Senate. So essentially, we are adopting the Senate position on this House measure for the same substantive bill. Any discussion? Senator Favela.
Chair, we could put in the committee notes that, we have right now, the county's enforcing against TV use in non-resort areas. So if can, I want to make sure that still stays in the notes when it goes over, that they continue to do that in the non-resort areas, not having these TV use, because my community suffer with the TV use and the land tax. If can, please.
Okay, that sounds fine. Any other discussion?
Chair?
Okay, yes, Senator McKellar.
Just real quickly, if it does move into an area of the money committees, hopefully future committees will look at the Aspen model as a way that we can generate revenue for the housing that's been lost because of the presence of short-term rentals in certain areas to create more workforce housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, Vice Chair for the vote, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Of the remaining CPN members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections?
Reservation.
Reservations from Senator Richards. Senators McKelvey and Awa are also present, voting in the affirmative. Okay, thank you very much. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Committee on Energy, Economic Development, and Tourism, same request. Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
HB 1838, House Draft 2, passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Senator Kai, excused. Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Aye. I vote with reservations. Senator Favela.
Reservations.
4 in affirmative, 1 excused. Recommendations adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Committee on Government Operations, same recommendation. Senate Draft 1, I vote yes.
Aye.
Senator votes aye. Excused, Senator Owa. That means us.
Thank you, members.
Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Okay, good morning and welcome back. We are reconvening this Wednesday, March 20th, 9:30 a.m. CPN agenda and continuing testimony on House Bill 2298. Next up, we have Suzanne Schreiner for the Synergistic Hawaii Agriculture Council and support. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I am a second-generation coffee farmer representing SHAC here today, and I've been testifying in support since back when I had brown hair as a young lady. And opponents of the bill have repeatedly asked for an economic study, and we all got it over the last year. And the results were falling unequivocally in favor of raising the ratio to 100%. And as Sharon Hurd said, 100% is the easiest to enforce. SHAC would ask you to reinstate the HB 2298 original language that matches Senator Kanuha's companion bill of SB 2481. This language had a 3-year phase-in to 100% coffee in the Hawaiian coffee in the bag, and 26 representatives signed on to that original bill. There's strong support for 100% coffee, 100% Hawaiian coffee. The economic study is clear. Blending takes money out of the pockets of growers and consumers and puts it in the pockets of blenders. And growers shouldn't have to wait for this current bill's 9-year phase-in for their money. Growers need it now. We have 1,500 farmers, both big and small, in the islands. And economically, coffee supports a $500 million industry upstream and downstream to the state. Between the coffee itself, the value of the hundreds of farm jobs, ag tourism, and the many supporting businesses. And Kona coffee is so valuable that growers were able to just settle a $41 million lawsuit against fraudulent sellers of our product on the mainland. $41 million in fraudulent coffee. Some of these fraudulent sellers have actually testified in favor of the 10% blends. So the company you keep says a lot about the power of 100% coffee, Kona coffee. The original bill was supported unanimously by the Hawaii Coffee Association, the KCFA, who is here to testify today. The Farm Bureau has testified. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Christine Maston for the Buna Coffee Company in support.
Good morning, Chair Keohokalole and committee members. My name is Christine Maston, and I'm the owner of the Buna Coffee Company. We're a small farm in Holualoa, just Mauka of Kona, and I live in the Ahupua of Hinololi. I've been farming coffee up there since September 2020, and today I'm going to speak about Kona coffee because that's what I know, but we certainly stand with all of the Hawaii coffee growers. I implore you to reinstate the original language of this bill and protect Kona coffee at 100% with a 3-year phase-in. Hawaiian coffee is what I call a heritage crop, and that is not a legal term, perhaps yet, but it does describe what we're talking about. From the royal lands that it's grown on, to the sweet rain, to the aloha, to the history of the coffee, the Japanese workers, everyone has left their mark on Kona coffee. The coffee production process is done by hand, each tree cared for, evaluated, and stewarded with care and procedures that have been developed over 100 years, and many of which are unique to Hawaii, and some processes are actually unique to Kona. For example, we have a pruning method called Kona style, developed here, that has been used over 100 years. Hawaiian coffee has a culture all of its own within the larger culture of these islands. It represents and embodies all of the people that have come and gone from them. I find 19th century Japanese pottery on my farm all the time. The roots here run deep, and this is no ordinary crop. As a result, I argue that Hawaiian coffee is a heritage crop deserving of 100% protection from pretenders. Because not only is it superior coffee, it contains history, heritage, aloha, and these are the things that make that coffee grow. These are the things that make it so good, and that's why they want to use the label on counterfeit coffee. Please do not allow the blenders and pretenders with deep pockets to define, own, and sell what is Kona, what is Hawaiian. The heritage and history deserves
very much.
protection at 100%.
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Peterson for the Kona Coffee Farmers Association in support. Good morning.
I stand on my testimony and like to add to it. And aloha, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Committee. My name's Mark Peterson, and my wife and I are coffee and cacao farmers and live in Captain Cook on the Big Island. I am a member of the first class of ag students at UH Hilo in 1973, and I'm also current president of the Kona Coffee Farmers Association. I'm here today to support the original submitted version of HB 2289, codifying Hawaiian coffee sold as 100% in the 1 to 3 year transition period. But I'd like to provide you an example of a blended product like coffee that's name is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. Textiles are made of various blends of fibers. These fibers include sources such as cotton grown by farmers, wool grown by farmers, silk, polyester, and others. The FTC has regulated how textiles produced with blended fibers are named. A manufacturer cannot name a product cotton, wool, silk, or polyester unless the fabric contains 95% cotton, 95% wool, 90% silk, or 85% polyester. The FTC implemented these naming laws for consumer protection and producer fairness. These laws ensure that consumers receive accurate information about the textile products they purchase. It seems that the same naming logic that's applied to fibers should also apply to coffee. A coffee blend should not be sold containing only 10%, with the naming rights coming from the origin, such as Kona. For fiber, the minimum content to name a polyester is 85%. To the consumer, it is misleading to call a product by a name of a component that contains only 10% of that component. Blenders can still combine coffee sources with 10% Kona and make a tasty blend, but just not use Kona as the identifying label. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Jeffrey Clark for Ka'u Coffee Mill in support, online. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Clark. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the M&C Olson Trust, and we own and operate the Ka'u Coffee Mill. And of course, I just testified with Hamakua Macadamia Nut on the Macadamia Nut Bill. We're in the unique position of farming and processing both coffee and macadamia nuts, and we see the damaging effects of foreign-grown commodities coming into the state and being marketed as Hawaiian. We're in full support of this bill, and we also are in full support of taking the phasing back to the original bill's time phasing and making it a phase to 100% versus 50%. In the interest of time, I'm here for questions, but we'll stand on our testimony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Manfredi for the Hawaii Coffee Association in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Chris Manfredi, testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Coffee Association. We stand on our written testimony in support of the original version of HB 2298. I noticed, as you did, that a lot of the opposing testimony is solely in opposition to the HD1 and the amendments that were made in the final House committee. A couple of points I want to underscore. First is the findings of the study that others have testified for. and that blending represents unfair competition based on unequal application of Hawaii's grade standards. Local growers must comply with these standards. Sellers of foreign coffee do not. I'm available for questions. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Hunter Haviland for the Hawaii Farmers Union in support online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Carrie Black in opposition. Thank you very much. Bruce Silverglade with comments online.
Yes, good morning.
morning.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Bruce Silverglade. I've been a full-time resident of Hawai'i since 2019. Prior to that, on the mainland, I have 28 years of experience as a consumer advocate in the area of food policy and food labeling. I stand by my testimony in support of the original version of HB 2298 and support the 100% requirement. To put it bluntly, Kona coffee is either Kona coffee or it isn't Kona coffee. It can't be half Kona coffee. Calling a product Kona blend is like calling a beverage orange juice blend when most of the juice is cheaper apple juice. In the choice of giving consumers the so-called right to buy diluted Kona coffee at inflated prices is no right at all. I note that there is legal precedent finding that trademarks, if they are deceptive, are not protected by federal trademark law. So I take particular issue with the prior testimony on that point. The passage of HB 2298 as originally introduced by the House not only protects coffee farmers, but it protects the general consumer. I urge the committee to ensure that this bill is originally introduced in the House as it is enacted by the Senate. Thank you for considering my views.
Thank you very much. Sean Steinman in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, committee. My name is Sean Steinman. I am a coffee scientist, entrepreneur, author, businessman locally. I think the spirit of this bill is spectacular and noble, and I love the idea of it. I'm in opposition because if you look at the economic study that came out, it shows a lot of data about what people would be willing to spend on blends and 100% Kona coffee. If you look at what's actively in the marketplace right now, you'll see that people won't buy what we already have. So if people won't buy at the prices we already have, then there's going to be a lot of coffee that comes up on the market pretty fast. And what's going to happen with that coffee? It's going to sit around, it's going to lower prices. A lot of farmers won't have a place to sell their coffee for a period of time. I don't know how long that time is. I fear that what we'll see is a lot of cherry farmers who don't have product to sell. And we don't know how many cherry farmers there are, but maybe it's 40%, 50% of our farmers producing coffee that probably goes into blends. You have the estate farmers who are really serious about how hard it is to grow coffee right now at the price it's at. Prices go down in this period, what's going to happen? They're also going to struggle. The idea of this bill is great. I think we need to do it in a way that doesn't hurt the farmers we're trying to help in the process. But if the bill is going to pass, I suggest that it go back to 100%. I suggest that it not be take 9 years to do it. Let's be serious about it. But I think we want to really think about who gets hurt in the process of changing this in any length of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have David Magana in opposition. Good morning.
Hi, my name is David Magana, and I am major picking contractor in Kona. I currently harvest about over 300 acres in Kona coffee. Also, I am owner of farm over 20 acres, and I purchase some coffee. This bill maybe put me out on the business. If I am forced out, who will be there to harvest? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Patricio Medina in opposition.
He couldn't make it, he had a medical emergency.
Okay, thank you. That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. In terms of written testimony, there were 52 individuals or organizations that submitted testimony in writing in support of the measure, 22 in opposition, and 14 that submitted comments. Is there anyone else online or in the room who would like to testify on this measure? Please. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. My name is Richard Wicklander. In 2001, my family and a couple friends began with a fixer-upper 24-acre farm that we.
So are you in support or opposition?
I'm in opposition.
Thanks.
Sorry. That we have now built into 130 acres that we farm. We rely on selling wholesale green coffee, and some of that is sold to blenders. There's a broad range of Kona coffee businesses. And do we need change for them to be successful? No. Kona coffee is a successful industry because businesses under current laws are able to be diversified in the ways they sell Kona coffee. One person's way of doing business isn't everyone's way of doing business, and that is okay as long as laws are followed. Under current laws, the Kona coffee industry has been and continues to be successful for both small and large producers of Kona coffee. Since 2005, when we first started selling green coffee, the prices have done nothing but increase, and it has helped us keep up with the cost of labor, farm supplies, and equipment. My concern is, at a 51% blend, what will happen to the price of wholesale green coffee? There is no solid evidence that change will not cause economic hardship for my business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Please. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello and good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. My name is Kaipo Sheen, owner of Makapoyo Farms, third generation coffee farmer. Since 2005, currently farming over 300 acres, 50 employees, 2 coffee shops in Kona. I stand by my opposition of the bill, as I would love nothing more than to sell all of my coffee at $60 a pound roasted. The market simply doesn't have the consumer there to buy it all at that price. A nice quality blend allows for a spread across an average household to be able to purchase coffee and actually get to sample some of our amazing product. As they all said, I agree. This bill will not fix the issue of quality. There's 100% quality, there's 100% Kona coffee currently on the shelves that is substandard coffee due to processing, how they're roasting. So that is the bottom line issue, is the quality, not the volume of the Kona brand and the Kona bean in the label. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else, please? And if there's anyone else who would like to testify, you can just come right up here and sit in the chair next, and then get accustomed to sitting in front of a microphone. Yeah, you get to watch the other person go first. Okay.
Aloha,
Go ahead. Good
Chair,
morning.
members of the board. My name is Maneki Astronomo. I represent Menehune Coffee Company, and I oppose the bill. Right now, the bill stands on how the consumers are deceived. The consumers are not deceived. We give clarity. We tell them that on the bags, it is 100% Kona. It is a 10% blend. It is 25% blend. Honestly, what they're looking at is the prices. We have to sell our Kona at $60 a pound to allow us to be where we need to be in the industry to make our overhead. We don't have an option, but the consumers have the options so that they can buy our coffee as well. We currently blend at a 30% blend. Now, it is more affordable for people, and I do sell a lot of it. Now, it's not a huge market, but it's at least a good portion of it. It allows me to sell the coffee that I cannot sell at $60 a pound. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to testify. My name is William Schmidtke. I'm opposed to this bill. My company name is Dealer Store Hawaii. I'm an online reseller of made in Hawaii products and to some slight degree Kona coffee blends. I As a military analyst, I learned to study documents very carefully. I looked at Act 222 and the results of that study. The conclusions were it was inconclusive, it was rushed, and there was more study that needs to be done. I also looked at a mountain of documents in the Kona Coffee lawsuit where the Kona Coffee farmers sued their own customers, and there was no finding of guilt. That never went to trial. Large companies asked their insurance companies to settle, and they settled. However, there were some small companies here in Hawaii. At least one I know has gone out of business. Others are struggling. And I just find it's a little too soon to add another variable by changing the blends, particularly when the effect of that lawsuit and the loss of major mainland customers has not been realized. I would think, I heard a lot of testimony about, well, it's been 30 years. It's time to make a change. I would submit to you that the legislature has carefully examined this for 30 years and probably has come to the conclusion by making a change, there's going to be more harm than good. And lastly, I saw that Senate Resolution 137 has been proposed, which asks the Attorney General to look at all made in Hawaii products. I would ask the Senate to wait until the results of that study have been done before you making changes to one small segment of the made in Hawaii products. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Flew in specifically for this hearing. I'm Sammy Piasecki. I own a very small coffee farm, Kona Sunset Coffee. Part of my mission in owning a small coffee farm is to educate people. So I do offer tours. I do not charge for my tours, and I spend a considerable...
Ma'am, can you declare your support?
I'm sorry, I'm in favor of this bill.
Thank you.
With going back to the original wording, please. 100% Kona coffee, 3-year phase-in. I'm shocked at how often on a coffee tour, people tell me, oh, I buy Kona coffee all the time from Home Goods or TJ Maxx or Costco on the mainland. And then they taste my 100% Kona coffee and they are so disappointed at having been deceived by what they had purchased previously. And I just believe that truth in labeling should be there. We need it in our lives everywhere, and especially with something that I am so passionate about. I do all of the labor on my farm, and when I can't, obviously I hire people, but I'm out there pruning, fertilizing, desuckering, picking, processing, roasting, from start to finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, members' questions. Senator McKelvey.
Yield the home team. I'm going to pick my good friend, the former ag director. Come on up.
Scott and right.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm just a couple of things here. Well, first of all, I'm throwing this out there because this bill brings up a weird situation we're in Maui, where all of the coffee processing has been destroyed, and the cherries have been left rotting on the ground. There's no crop at all. So you have Maui companies selling under that geographical region that are going to be forced to rely on blends to stay alive until the next coffee crops can come up and they can be processing facilities could be brought online. Would you support some kind of exemption for us from this based upon that situation so these companies can continue to sell coffee as Maui coffee until Maui coffee can return?
That would seem to be justified. Senator Kimo always did a great job on his coffee farm over there, and having him survive would be important for the industry. So yes, an exception in that case.
And then just to take a step back, and thank you for that. I appreciate you trying to help us figure that out. But, the argument's been made, Kona coffee right now, $60 a pound or plus, right? And so therefore it's so expensive, people aren't buying it. The product's going to live beyond its shelf life and end up as useless product. Could you respond to that? I mean, would you, I guess, respond to that argument that's been made about that?
You know, the Hawaii's agriculture, especially on commodities like coffee, are always at a disadvantages because our costs of doing business are so much higher than developing world countries that we often compete against. You know, South Africa, Vietnam, I mean, Kenya, we can just go around the world and we're competing with them. So we sell the cachet. So it's Kona coffee or Maui coffee, which was doing really well too. That's how we get a price for our coffee so they can stay in business. You know, the way business was done when I had brown hair, you didn't have people that looked like me that, you know, came to Hawaii and bought small farms and started growing. And then they started doing direct marketing because you can do it online. They don't need aggregators. But the aggregators are here. They're the ones that are against it, and they still serve a purpose too. So, you know, as I walk in the room, I shake everybody's hands because they all play a part. But I do believe we need truth in labeling. I believe that's what assists agriculture from McNuts to coffee to Mamani. I mean, we can go right on down the line. That's what we can do as a state to give our agriculturalists assistance when they're doing commodity crops.
Okay. I thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Senator Richards.
Scott, stay. And there's going to be a few conversations here, and I've got some other people I want to bring up. Thanks for those comments. And we are talking about truth and labeling. We worked together when I had different color hair as well. You know, I appreciate your perspective of the truth in labeling, because I think that's what we're talking about here. And we're talking about that in the MacNut, and we're talking about that. But I also agree with you that without our consolidators, aggregators, blenders, that's a very important component of agriculture. And you and I have had this conversation for years. You know, to the point of what Senator McKelvey was talking about, agriculture doesn't always work the way we want it to. And sometimes our commodities, because of Mother Nature or whatever the case, we end up with a hole in the production line. So we have to fill that somehow. And what I'm trying to sit here and listen, if it's Kona coffee, it should be Kona coffee. I agree with that. This last year I was in a meeting, it was the Indiana State Fair, and they had Indiana grown, and they had a bag of coffee in there. I had trouble with that one. It wasn't Indiana grown coffee, but they had the Indiana grown label on it. And I think that's one of the extremes of why I'm supporting this truth in labeling. But there's got to be a way forward, because I've listened to the industry, and we've got coffee sitting in warehouses we need to market, and that can't just be written off. There should be a way to handle that. However, there also needs to be truth in labeling of what we're actually marketing. And so I'm trying to see where we can find that. From your perspective, that was a long introduction for the question. From your perspective, how do we go forward with that? Because we're talking about geographical labeling, Ka'u, Kona, Maui, even Kauai. Do we, in your opinion, do we also put in a Hawaii blend or a Kona blend or something? From your perspective, your thoughts?
You know, I always thought, seeing that we've got coffee growers, you know, currently our largest grower in Kauai, we've had the Maui coffee growers, there's coffee growers all over the Big Island. So it would make sense to have a Hawaii blend where all the beans, there aren't any Colombia, there's no Kenyan, they're Hawaiian beans, and that's a blend. That might be an alternative. But keeping the regional, you know, integrity to like Kona coffee or Ka'u coffee, the Ka'u coffee individuals that were online, they're going to want a protection for their Ka'u coffee too. So that would all make sense, and having a local Hawaii state blend where they could take excess from Kauai or from Maui, help Kimo market what he has left on Maui. Yes, that makes sense, Senator.
It protects 100%.
Okay, it's gonna be a lot more complicated. So I appreciate that, Scott. Chair, can I continue with a few questions? Okay, Roger, I'd like to come up. Okay, Roger, appreciate you being here. And again, this is a hearing on the bill, but it's also a hearing to discuss this.
Understood.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and the price point that was discussed, I understand that's a concern too. So we have a whole bunch of variables here. Do you agree that protecting the name, the regional name, or even the state name, there's value in this?
Agreed. We absolutely will agree with that. And we did that in 2010. I think it was HB 1558, which is the truth in labeling laws, which we had to change font size and identify exactly what was in there. For instance, before that, there was a small statement that you couldn't read with glasses at the bottom that says contains no less than 10% Kona. When we changed that, I believe it was 1552. I was just kind of looking that up right now. It changed that font size to 3/16 of an inch. It took out identity words such as Kona or Hawaiian Kona. You can only use it X amount of times on the front of the bag. I was hoping to pull that up for you guys so I could recite that for you. That is there already in existence, and stand behind it 100%. I think it was a great thing that we did back then, and it was done correctly in the proper time. HB 1552 is the House bill, and that was SD2 that actually was passed. I'm happy to go back and look at that to amend stuff, but folks, until we can sell all of our product, we need to come up with something a lot better than what we're dealing with now, that with a 3-year or a 1-year timeline. The people that I'm with in this room alone, we've got over 1,000 bags of green coffee sitting in Kona, unsold. That lawsuit last year crippled us. People just said, absolutely not going to touch it. And I will go back to what this gentleman Bill had said earlier. There was no proceedings, no evidence. These people just did the smart thing. They settled. And I get it. It's business, right? However, it hurt us, the other side of the coin. But back to your original question, I do agree we can do something, but until we can sit down at a table and establish a little bit of common ground, this one way or my way or the highway, one size fits all doesn't work.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to go to the other side, and I'll pick up. Okay, come on back up.
Thank you, Senator.
Identify yourself again.
Suzanne Schreiner, Synergistic Hawaii Ag Council,
Okay.
second-generation farmer and marketer of Kona coffee.
Okay, so we're discussing, you've heard the conversation up to this point, your
Correct.
perspective.
In the global marketplace, which is where Kona competes, it is very easy to sell the Hawaii name brand. So what SHAC does is we get federal marketing dollars to promote all of Hawaii's coffees. Kona coffee generally doesn't have a problem selling. Certain people may have problems, buyers come and go, and so there's coffee sitting in warehouses right now. Partly that's due to the high cost of lines of credit. Coffee is bought on lines of credit, so at this time of year, things are a little bit slow. No one wants to pay 10% interest on something in storage, so they will buy it as the year progresses. I have no doubt that coffee will sell. Kona sells out every year. It has for every year since time immemorial.
Okay, so now follow up on that is high end is high end, and I get it.
Right.
But there is a price point, and the average person does not drink high end coffee.
Correct.
So what is your response to that?
I hear that testimony sometimes, that the average person should be able to drink Kona coffee. And that's a really hard thing as a Kona coffee grower, because that's going to come out of my pocket.
I didn't ask that question.
Sorry.
What I asked was the average coffee drinker does not drink a high-end every cup of coffee.
Right.
So how do we, and this is one of the things I'm looking at agriculture and not just coffee, not just MACNA. I'm looking at row crops. We're looking at lettuce. We're looking at beef, which is I'm most familiar with. We have a high-end portion, but we also have what I call just for the working families that they can afford to eat the local product, eat and drink the local product. So how do we attend to that, recognizing, want to protect, because I'm all about truth and labeling, I got it, but how do we deal with that facet of the market?
Are you saying that our local residents should be able to drink Hawaiian coffee? Is that what you're
I'm
getting?
asking you that.
I can see, so we do have a Hawaiian designation for coffee. It's the lowest quality. If a grade does not meet the Kona standard or the Kauai standard, it can be sold as Hawaiian, and you will see a Hawaiian blend on the shelf. That a Kona coffee is $30 a pound green. A Hawaiian grade will sell for $10 a pound. Still very much more than a Costa Rican at $2 or $3, but it's certainly within a more affordable range. There's no reason there couldn't be 100% Hawaiian on the shelf. That would probably be about an $18 bag of coffee, which would be comparable to what you would buy in a Starbucks. So that's still a possibility with the coffees we have.
Okay. What I'm trying to avoid is having the Indiana grown attitude, okay?
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with that. So, Chair, I'm going to yield for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on this. Thank you, everyone. The next measure on the agenda is HB 2388, House Draft 1, relating to Money Transmitters Modernization Act. This is an administration measure that continues the alignment of Hawaii's money transmitters law with the provisions of the Model Money Transmitters Modernization Act. The one and only testifier we have is Ira Cicada from the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, Division of Financial Institutions, Online and Support. Good morning.
Aloha, good morning. We would like to stand on our testimony, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? That's all we have. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Members, any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll move to the next measure, HB 2394 HD1, relating to insurance. Members, please note the proposed Senate Draft 1 on this measure. This was a measure requested by the Insurance Division and is substantively non-germane to the original measure. We are hearing it at the administration's request and taking testimony accordingly. First up, the Insurance Commissioner in support. Thank you very much for standing on your testimony. Next, we have the Attorney General's office with comments. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Attorney General Andrew Kim. As provided in written comments, this proposed bill may be transforming the original bill and be considered constitutionally non-germane. The proposed bill is adopted. We recommend that additional readings be scheduled. I'll be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, members, any questions? Senator McKelvey.
I'll ask the director, actually, this question. Right? Yeah.
Gordon, you can come sit next to her just in case.
How does the expression
There are
roll
two
about
chairs.
things rolling uphill? There's something that rolls uphill. I forget the exact expression.
Sorry, I'm here for another bill,
But you're the head.
but I am.
But you're here. Good morning. Welcome.
So I heard the AG's thing. I mean, basically, you want us to do a gut and replace unconstitutional. Why wasn't this put in as part of the administrative package? Or even discussed perhaps during the bill introduction period?
It's actually, the proposed Senate Draft 1 is actually two of our admin bills, House Bill 2394 and Senate Bill 3081. The language in 3081, which was heard by the committee, but it unfortunately did not cross over. So that's therefore we're requesting to put essentially what was heard by this committee and passed by the committee into the House Bill 2394.
In place,
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Vice Chair?
You know, in the, I guess the testimony from Attorney General's office points out a potential problem. What happened to the other bill that you are trying to, I guess, replace, HB 2394? Did that survive in another form?
Yeah, Senator. So the two, both of them are admin bills. The two holding company bills, we thank the Senate and the House for passing those bills. Both bills crossed over. And so with the holding company bill, we're going with the Senate version in the House on the holding company. So that's why we're requesting the replacement in this admin bill, which is the similar holding company bill that had crossed over. So, but unfortunately, what we termed as the omnibus admin bill, which was in House Bill, 2392 and Senate Bill 3081 did not cross over. And so that's why we're requesting the language in the original omnibus bill be put into this bill, which is the holding company bill, which the Senate version is the one that we prefer and is moving through the House.
So in a way, if the Senate were to avoid AG's concerns, if we took Part 1 and Part 2 in this bill and included both of your proposals, we would at least not run into the 3 readings issue, right?
Vice Chair, that might be a question for the Attorney General, which I
Okay,
was
sorry.
going to ask right after you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gordon, you're off the hook. Can I get the Attorney General's office, please? So thank you for being here. In fairness to the Insurance Division, this is a heck of a year for them. And this appears to be essentially a second bite at the apple. And I agreed to schedule and hear this measure on the assumption that the 3 readings rule could potentially still be complied with. The question I have is whether we in the CPN committee should DM this measure twice, or whether to comply with the readings requirement, which my understanding is a floor reading, that this measure be held over for an extra day prior to a 3rd reading vote.
Okay, yeah, as long, I think as long as it complies with the 3 readings in each house by League of Women Voters, then, it'll be okay. So if that.
So an additional recognition of the measure on the floor of the Senate would constitute a reading, would it not?
Yes.
Okay.
But it also needs to go through there.
So, and then that would be my second question is, upon the cross of the bill back to the House.
Yes.
The House would need to take whatever options in its procedures necessary to ensure that there are 3 floor readings of this version of this measure to comply with the League of Women Voters case.
Yes, then it would have 3 readings in each house.
Thank you for doing that because, all kidding aside, this was an administrative measure and they did request that we put this through. And so the recommendation to the committee would be to do that in spite of the concerns, but also acknowledging that there is likely a path to comply with the constitutional reading provisions going forward.
Yeah, we'll look at that path and then I'll talk to the Attorney Generals about that and then we can look further.
Well, so my concern with that response is that this is a single referral Consumer Protection Committee measure. So if the Attorney General's understanding is different, then I think the request would be that the Senate is notified before 3rd reading of this measure in the Senate so that we do not send a fundamentally defective measure back over to the House.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the last measure on this agenda, HB 2481, relating to Timeshare Commissioner of Deeds, the next measure. This measure repeals the Timeshare Commissioner of Deeds. Sylvia Luke for the office of the Lieutenant Governor in support. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, no one to ask questions of. We'll move on to the next measure, HB 1565 HD1, relating to condominiums. This measure excludes a homeowner developer from the annual requirement to file a developer's report and pay a fee if the homeowner's development consists of not more than 2 units, one in which the developer resides, and one for which the initial sale of the other unit has been completed. Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support. Good morning.
Aloha mai kako. Grant Nakaya, Public Policy Advocate with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you very much. That's all the registered in-person testimony we have on this bill. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, just noting for the record, we have written testimony in support, all in support from Richard Emery, Brandon Maddox of the Palihua Townhouse Association, and Richard Cohen. Members, any questions for OHA? Okay, we'll move on to the next measure, HB 2313 HD1, relating to condominiums. This measure repeals the cutoff date of Act 196, Session Laws 2018, that allowed the use of funds in the Condominium Education Trust Fund, which was initially dedicated to support voluntary binding arbitration, to be used for other educational purposes. First up, Richard Emery of Hawaii First Realty in opposition. And we also have Mike Goliu, Senior, in support. Okay, no one to ask questions of?
I have a question for DCCA.
Senator McKelvey for a question.
Yeah, DCCA, it's in your wheelhouse, right? Condos? The Condominium Education Trust Fund?
Director?
Well, no, you're going to help me solve a problem that we tried to take care of in a bill in my committee, which is going to come to this committee. So I might as well ask you right now, what's the status of the CET fund? Is it basically, is it under, is it over, is it?
This is the Condo Education Trust Fund? I actually was looking at that recently, and I think there is something about around $1 million.
Excess or just in the fund itself?
In the fund.
In the fund itself, okay.
So
and how much is right now of the spend of the fund, is it like all of it being spent out, or is there going to be an excess or going?
No, I don't think, I think it's available to be used, because I think I was looking at it just the other day in response to Senator Fukunaga's message or email with regard to funding for the LRB study that came out of the task force from last year. And I actually had been looking at that because it's different from CRF. We aren't restricted in the sense that it is a source, but it requires the commission to make that determination about whether or not it could be used for that purpose. So the statute provides for particular purposes for which that fund can be used. I think theoretically, for purposes of the LRB study, it's possible to look into using it. Just have to communicate that to the commission to have a discussion with them.
This law gives you that flexibility, right? This law right here that we're considering extending. I mean,
I haven't looked at specifically because I wasn't here to look into this particular bill or to submit any testimony on it. So I haven't looked at it, but I can tell you what the specifics are about the Condo Education Trust Fund, because I just happened to look at that statute. I wish I had brought it here. Because there are 3 purposes that are outlined that the commission may use it for. And as long as it fits within the parameters of those 3 purposes, then that gives you the guideline for whether or not the commission could consider using those funds.
and they are?
Well, I don't have it on the top of my head because I don't have the statute with me. But if you look at the particular statute for the Education Trust Fund, there are like 1, 2, 3 measures. And included, for example, what I was looking at for purposes of the LRB study, it included things like, looking at ways to resolve condominium disputes, looking at ways to, with regard to management of condo associations. So it had some broad language that when I looked at it, I thought, well, this is a possibility, and I'd like to have a discussion with the commission. So that's where.
I agree, because we had a bill to create a condo ombudsman, and we're putting it with the real estate commission instead of making the condo, the ombudsman do it. So the CET could be used to fund that.
Right. I think there might be within the purposes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Included something within that might have discussed an ombudsman option. So I thought it was broad enough to look at, and I wanted to have a discussion with the commission about it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for updating this LRB study, and thank you, Chair, because the bill's going to come to you next. So.
Right, and I would just add, Director, these three measures, the prior measure, this measure, and the following measure are condominium measures in which we did not receive testimony from the DCCA. And so if we were to move them forward, I would request that the department submit testimony. The testimony on this measure is split, and it appears to be because the bill is just confusing. It's almost a double negative, repealing the cutoff date for, I guess, the use of surplus funds for another purpose, right? And so it seems pretty reasonable that people might be confused. And I'm inclined to move the measure, but it's not going to survive unless there's some department testimony, I would assume, clarifying the intent.
I will go back and I will discuss that with our condo people. So.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We'll move to the final measure on this agenda, HB 2315 HD1, relating to condominiums. This measure specifies the procedure for a condominium association specifies the procedure for condo association meetings conducted in person and electronically. It clarifies the procedure for electronic machine and mail voting. First, we have Steve Gladstein for the Hawaii State Association of Parliamentarians in Sport. Good morning.
Nice to see real people in a real meeting. After doing Zoom this and Zoom that. Good morning, Chair Keoho Kalole. Did I pronounce it right?
You did good, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Vice Chair Fukunaga. Okay, just a few notes. I'm not going to read my entire testimony as you've indicated that you've read it, but this was a first case where we started work on really trying to find an electronic voting mechanism that would be more efficient, auditable, as well as more accurate. For example, last week, Thursday at Pond Tower, some of the testifiers were actually there, including Senator Rhodes. He was a teller. We made him count the votes. So put him to work. And that's one way that you don't get on the board, is if you're counting the votes. So he appreciated the appointment. Any event, with some humor, it turned out that it took a long time to count, and individuals there were actually complaining that we're still using paper ballots from the last century. We've been able to find systems that work. When we worked together as a team a few years ago, we actually found electronic voting devices that would do it. But the technology evolved so quick, and especially with COVID, that they've turned around and now people are using smartphones. And we drafted the bill last year. This is the first time as parliamentarians we were having lawyers call us to interpret the bill as non-lawyers. So it obviously needed a little bit of work. So I worked together with several other people, and we were able to get together some clarifying language. And we'd ask that you pass it with the clarifying language, and it's still not taking away people's choice. They don't have to do it. Okay, but it is giving associations an option, and if they amend their bylaws, they can do it. If they wish to have an in-person meeting and use an electronic vote versus a piece of paper, then it's there. Okay, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, in total, there were 3 individuals that submitted testimony, written testimony in support, 2 that submitted written testimony in opposition, and 14 that submitted testimony with comments. Members, any questions? Vice Chair.
For Mr. Gladstein, I believe if you were at the Honolulu Tower board meeting, I guess one of the comments that came in from written
The
comments
annual
that
meeting,
came in
excuse me, the annual meeting
from,
last week.
one of your residents pointed out that the concern was having the board make the determination, and so this individual was interested in having the association vote to allow for this type of voting. I think there seems to be a kind of relatively, smooth transition that could occur. I think if the association were to accept, the use of these alternative technologies.
Yeah, association could always amend their bylaws to do it. We just need to make sure that they comply with the statute as that amendment. If they're doing an in-person meeting and they want to use electronic voting devices, that's generally up to the board property management. However, the one, for example, next week in Kona that we're doing, we have a hybrid. So owners all over the country are going to be voting Kona using a smartphone, and they have the office available if somebody wants to vote in paper. So people can go into the office, they can actually be part of the meeting. If they want to vote paper there, they could, and they can put it together. Or they'll have somebody help them over at associate's office there with a extra computer. That's next week, Friday, the 29th.
Okay, so then in
it
that
could be
instance,
good.
you're saying then individuals would have the association make a selection or have the different alternatives available to them prior to the meeting itself?
Yeah, they chose that last year. They actually adopted a motion at their annual meeting saying, we want to have this. So they can adopt a motion or a special rule.
In advance
Yeah,
of
in
the meeting.
advance, or amend the bylaws. That's another approach, so.
Okay, well, you know how hard it is to have people meet, so, probably in advance would give everyone notice of the change in
Right.
technology.
And if you amend your bylaws by written consent, you have a year. So that tends to be a little easier. For example, Han Tower, they amended their bylaws on no smoking in something like 8 or 10 weeks. So if people want to do it, they can do it.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'd just like to remind members, we have about 15 more minutes and we have 3 more bills that we need to make sure that we receive testimony on so that we can move them out.
So you don't want me to take up your 15 minutes?
Well, it's in Q&A right now, so I'm not talking to you.
I get it. I got it.
Real quick, security.
sir.
Security on electronic voting. I'm sure that's question been raised. I assume there are safeguards in place?
Yes, actually, having consulted in 24 cities on security in the late 1990s, I'm somewhat of an expert on it, so I could spend the rest of the time on that. However, the security of it is far better than a piece of paper, that ballot. We've had fraud in the balloting last year, and what it was somebody took one set of ballots from the first meeting, tried to use them in the second meeting. So and they got caught. Well, we didn't know who did it, but we caught it.
But there's security safeguards, sign-ups, and around that?
Access keys,
Okay.
passwords, and the secret ballot is also preserved in a
Okay.
unique manner.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Okay, we will move on. IT, what we're going to do is recess this agenda and move right into the next agenda. We will defer decision-making on these matters until the end of the calendar.
Okay, sounds good, Chair.
So we will recess. Okay, good morning and welcome. This is our Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, 9:31 a.m. Senate Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection agenda in room 229 at the Capitol to confer on House Bill 1814 HD1 relating to condominiums. This measure requires the Legislative Reference Bureau to conduct a study on condominiums. This is similar to a companion measure that we heard, a companion Senate measure that we heard earlier in the session. First up, we have Lila Moore of the Kokua Council with comments online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you very much. Lourdes Scheibert in support online.
I'm online. I'm starting my video.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me testify. I would like to change my written testimony to opposing HB 1814 HD1. And the reason for that is the priority to refer the issues back to the CPR task force based on the accordance of the hierarchy of authority. This is guided by the laws and statutes in this order. State of Hawaii 514B condominium law. Second is the Hawaii administrative rules. And third is the county building and fire safety codes. Within the regulatory framework, 514B and the Hawaii administrative rules take priority over the county building and fire safety codes. A building inspector confirmed the safety code violation in the common area. Nevertheless, he determined that issuing written violations for safety codes fell outside of his jurisdiction and stated that a condominium operates under self-governance. He recommended that I raise this matter with my board. So given the shortcomings in enforcing county building and safety codes, I'm of an opinion that the Real Estate Commission bears the responsibility for ensuring consistency with 514B, HAR, and county building and fire safety codes. Hence, the CPR task force should address these concerns along with other issues outlined in HB 1814 and collaborate with REC. I believe that the CPR task force is equipped with data and capable to depend on previous REC and LBR research studies that encompass Gregory Tanaka's condominium dispute resolution, Charlotte A. Carter Yamauchi, condominium governance, examination of issues, and Pamela Martin, fighting battles in modern American castles.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we have Greg Masakian in support online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, I'd note for the record, in terms of written testimony, we had 14 pieces of testimony in support, none in opposition. Well, now we have 1 in opposition and 3 offering comments. Members, any questions? Okay, we will defer decision-making on this matter until end of calendar. Recess. Okay, good morning and welcome. This is our Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, 9:35 a.m. CPN agenda in conference room 229. This is to hear House Bill 2700 HD3 and House Bill 2801 HD1. These measures were scheduled for hearing earlier in the week. We ran out of time and deferred action on those measures until now, so we will take testimony on these measures, and hopefully, time permitting, which is prior to 11:15, we will make recommendations on these measures. For the testifiers who are still with us, thank you for your patience and coming in for a second day. We're still going to observe 2 minutes, but again, we would ask you to use your time wisely. Thank you. The first measure is HB 2700 HD3 relating to wildfires. This measure establishes the Hawaii Wildfire Relief Fund and Corporation to provide compensation for property damage resulting from catastrophic wildfires in the state, and it makes an appropriation. First up is the Blake Oshiro for the Office of the Governor offering comments. Good morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Blake Oshiro, Governor's Senior Advisor. You have a written testimony with comments. I just wanted to summarize that we have seen he proposed amendments. We do not support those amendments at this time. I'll be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Nadine Ando, DCCA, with comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Stand on our written testimony and are available for further questions.
Thank you very much. DCCA, Division of Consumer Advocacy, with comments. Good morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, my name is Mickey Knox. I'm here for the Consumer Advocate. We stand on our written comments. I just wanted to highlight one thing. We really appreciate how the current version of the bill limits the ratepayer impact for this new fund. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Chair Leo Asuncion for the PUC with comments.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Grace Ralph, testifying on behalf of the PUC. We'll stand on our written testimony, but happy to answer questions.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. Jason Ben for Hawaiian Electric in support. Good morning.
Morning. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Jason Ben, Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer for Hawaiian Electric, testifying in support of HB 2700 HD3 with some amendments. I'll try to keep it brief in the interest of time. The bill is forward-looking. It's intended to protect both the people of Hawaii and our economy from the risk of another catastrophic wildfire occurring in the future, regardless of cause. Our proposed amendments in the bill are responsive to stakeholder concerns and largely harmonize it with SB 3344 ST2. In addition, the amendments fill in the remaining blanks, specifying contribution and payout amounts and being sensitive to the state's budgetary constraints, clarify that the vast majority of the state's contribution may be in the form of a contingent guarantee rather than cash. Acknowledging the concern about rate impact, while noting that the fund functions as a form of liability insurance, which has historically been in rates, our amendments contemplate HECO's contribution would be securitized, which is the lowest cost means of financing it. And in SB 2922, our securitization bill, we've proposed amendments that cap the rate impact across a broader set of wildfire costs and in a more holistic way of addressing ratepayer impact. So I want to point out earlier this month, the state of Utah passed a similar bill allowing a surcharge on rates of no more than 4.95% for the same purpose, wildfire relief. It's a rising problem across the US and globally, has many factors. We think this is a fair way to address it. And finally, we've addressed concerns from other stakeholders, including the Hawaii State Office of the Auditor, insurers, and other stakeholders. In short, we feel this is low-cost, rapid process to help property owners compensate in the event of a future wildfire, avoids uncertainty that can destabilize key institutions, the states, the counties, utilities, and others. And I'm out of time. Mahalo for allowing me to testify, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Janine Suki for Hawaiian Telecom with comments. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Janine Suki with Hawaiian Telecom. Just want to highlight that in addition to our comments, which request a brief amendment to remove telecoms from the bill, and this being because, to my knowledge, we've not seen any other telecoms found liable for some of these catastrophes, as they've been found liable in other states like California, Washington, Oregon. And as Mr. Ben stated, California and Utah very recently established fire funds similar to what's being proposed here, but contributors to these funds have been largely the electric utilities, and therefore we're asking to remove language referencing telecom service providers from the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kiko Bukowski for IBW 1260.
IBW stands on its written testimony and support.
Thank you for standing on your testimony. State Farm in opposition.
State Farm is not on its written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Sujimura. Tax Foundation with comments online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Hawaii Association for Justice in opposition. Good morning.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Evan Oy on behalf of the Hawaii Association for Justice. You have our written testimony. We did just want to note our opposition to Section 18 in the measure, which provides immunity for property damage claims or future property damage claims. Our preference would be to remove that section, but as an alternative, we did recommend an amendment to Section 16 regarding the depletion of the fund. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Beth Amaro for Kauai Island Utility Cooperative with comments online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Tina Yamaki in support online.
Also not present on Zoom, Chair.
That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, in total, in terms of written support, we had 60 pieces of testimony in support, 2 in opposition, and 8 offering comments. Members, questions? Okay, we'll move to the next measure on the agenda. Actually, this is the last measure on all the agendas. HB 2801 HD1 relating to commercial property assessed financing. This measure allows condominiums to be eligible for commercial property assessed financing. First up, Director Ando, DCCA in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. DCCA stands on its written testimony in support and available for any questions.
You sure? Yeah, thank you.
Any questions?
Mary Alice Evans, Office of Planning and Sustainable Development in support. Okay. Gwen Yamamoto Lau of the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Gwen Yamamoto Lau, Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority. I stand on my written testimony in support, but I also wanted to let the committee know that we were able to reach a mutual agreement with the bankers yesterday and request additional amendments to better define condominium associations and address the addition of UCC financing statements for condos. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hawaii State Energy Office in support. Hawaii Realtors in support. Thank you very much. Holomua Collaborative, Mr. Wish, in support.
We stand on our testimony in support.
Thank you very much. Nicholas Zuba of CPACE Alliance in support online.
Yes,
Morning.
thank you so much. Yes, good morning. Thank you so much, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. So Nicholas Zuba, CPACE Alliance. I also stand on my testimony in support of this bill, but also at the same time, do just want to acknowledge and to echo what Gwen had just said about the amendment in this case that was reached between basically our industry, the CPACE financing industry, and that of the banking industry, to basically help to clarify the definition of condominiums and as well as the process basically for lender consent involving the condominium association. So we're in support of both and certainly am available for any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Michael Yaki for Petrospace Finance in support online.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michael Yaki, Petrospace Finance in support. I'll stand on my testimony and just say that we strongly support the amendments offered by Ms. Yamamoto of HGIA that was reached in agreement with the bankers last night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lourdes Scheibert in opposition online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Gary Strange in support. Okay, and late testimony from Stephanie Sakamoto of the Hawaii Credit Union League with comments. Thank you very much. That's all the registered testimony we have on this measure. Is there anyone else who would like to testify?
Morning, Chair. We did submit testimony. I'm not sure what happened with this, but we do stand on our testimony, noting the agreement between the parties reached last night. We'll stand in support of the amendments.
Thank you. And we have received your testimony from the Hawaii Bankers Association.
Okay,
thank you. Is there anyone else? Members, questions? Vice Chair.
I guess for the HGIA and Bankers Association, I note that both testimonies have proposed language. Is it the same language or is it different?
It's different. We will be submitting it. We just reached it last night, so LRB is drafting
So
it.
you will still be kind of combining and
Yes.
submitting something to
We
the
met
committee?
and went through page by page. So
Okay.
there's a draft that should be coming out.
Okay,
today.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator
Oh,
McKelvey, hold on.
Whoa. So you guys reached this deal last night between yourselves and you're submitting it outside of the public hearing process? This is going to be recorded in the public testimony before it's adopted?
Senator McKelvey, just to be very good and fair question. I have requested, since we originally scheduled the agenda and reviewed the written testimony, requested that the parties work together to address their concerns that were present in the written testimony when we originally scheduled the bill 2 days ago. And the Vice Chair has also been working with them on that as well. So a good and fair question that we should illuminate for the people watching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But also, could this, I mean, it's used in an energy context, CPACER, right? But could this be used to address some of the issues that we've been discussing on condominiums, particularly like insurance rates, et cetera, et cetera?
It will help condominiums with deferred maintenance so that they can get insurance if they're not eligible for insurance right now.
But they couldn't use it as a way to supplement, I mean, because we're hearing reports of 500% insurance rates going
It
up.
cannot be used for the premiums, but it can be used to harden the building so that it
They
becomes
can
more
move.
insurable.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Okay, we will recess for decision-making. Okay, welcome back to decision-making on this 9:30 a.m. March 20th, CPN agenda in room 229 at the Capitol. The first measure is HB 2278. This is the macadamia nuts. The recommendation on this measure is to adopt the language contained in Senate Bill 3303 SD2, which was the companion measure heard in the Senate earlier in the session, and to effect the effective date of that measure to July 1, 2040. Any discussion?
Chair?
Senator McKelvey.
I just want to thank you for doing that so that our colleagues' thoughts on ag can be included in the product.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Senator Richards.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick, we're working hard, I do appreciate that. I'm going to vote with reservations, not that I disagree with the direction that we're going, but just because I want to be sure we have conversations on this and highlight that, so thank you.
So noted. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, Vice Chair for the vote, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Senator McKelvey?
Yes.
Senator Richards?
Reservations?
And Senator Awa is excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. The next measure is HB 2298 HD1. This is the coffee measure. The recommendation, there are a lot of moving pieces. We had a robust discussion with lots of testimony. I'd like to thank everyone, especially from the neighbor islands who took the time to come here and testify in person. Thank you for your patience. We will defer decision-making on this measure one day to Thursday, March 21st at 10:30 a.m. in this room 229 in order to make sure that we make a recommendation that incorporates that robust discussion. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to HB 2388 HD1 relating to the Money Transmitters Act. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with amendments. We will amend the bill to make it effective upon approval. Any discussion? Seeing none, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the CPN members present, any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. The next measure is HB 2394, House Draft 1, HD1, SD1, relating to insurance. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with the proposed amendments and to pass with the proposed SD1. And again, note for the record that this measure was advanced upon the request of the DCCA and the Insurance Commissioner's Office, and finding justified reason for taking that action. We will move this measure out, but again, it is our intention to comply with the 3 readings requirement as articulated in the League of Women Voters case. Any discussion?
Chair?
Senator McKelvey.
No, I appreciate you doing that to give more clarity to the public. However, there's been no clear path given forward to this committee by the AG's office on how we're going to do that. So because of that uncertainty, I'm going to go with reservations for now. Thank you.
So noted. Any other discussion? Seeing none, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any others voting with reservations or objections other than Senator McKelvey? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next measure is HB 2481 relating to timeshare, 2481 HD1 relating to timeshare commissioners of deeds. The recommendation is to pass this measure with amendments. We will defect the effective date of this measure to July 1, 2040. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next measure is HB 1565 HD1 relating to condominiums. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with a defective effective date of July 1, 2040. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next measure is HB 2313 HD1 relating to condominiums. Recommendation on this measure is to pass with amendments. I will note again for the record that we will request that the DCCA submit testimony as this measure proceeds in order to clarify the intent. We will also defect the effective date of this measure to July 1, 2040, just to ensure that we keep the vehicle moving.
Excuse me, can we get a blank voting sheet?
Any discussion while we stand by for the vote sheet?
Discussion on conduct, I could give you all day on that.
Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. The last measure on this 9:30 a.m. agenda is House Bill 2315 HD1. This is relating to condominiums. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with amendments. We will adopt the proposed amendments submitted by the Hawaii State Association of Parliamentarians and keep the discussion going. I think it is definitely a worthwhile one. Any discussion? Vice Chair.
Thank you. I'd appreciate your also noting in the committee report some of the concerns raised regarding the change in technology to be adopted prior to the meeting with the association.
So noted. Thank you for the suggestion. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. We will adjourn the 9:30 agenda, and we will open on our 9:31 agenda to consider House Bill 1814 HD1 relating to condominiums. This is the Legislative Reference Bureau study. The recommendation on this measure is to pass with amendments. We will adopt the Legislative Reference Bureau's submitted testimony where they suggest a correction changing the term alternate dispute resolution to alternative dispute resolution. And we will add an amendment to Section 2A of the measure, adding to the list of subjects for the report the limitations on total and final legal fees in excess of the original debt amount sought that an association can assess, demand, or seek reimbursement from a unit owner. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. We will adjourn that 9:31 a.m. agenda and open on our 9:35 a.m. Agenda to consider House Bill 2700 HD3. This is relating to wildfires. Many moving parts on this measure. We had a lot of written testimony of substance, and so the recommendation is to take one more day on this measure before making a recommendation. It is my inclination as chair to keep this vehicle moving, so we want to make sure that we can put together some language that was amenable to the Senate. So we will defer decision-making on this measure to tomorrow, Thursday, March 21st at 10:30 a.m. Any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the last measure, HB 2801 HD1, with the proposed SD1 submitted prior to the hearing relating to commercial property assessed financing. Members, as noted in the discussion today, we've had stakeholders working on compromise language. That language was just agreed to and is not available for review to the committee. So we will defer decision-making on this measure as well to tomorrow, Thursday, March 21st at 10:30 a.m. in this room 229 in order to allow the members to see the language before we vote it out. And on that note, thank you very much. We are adjourned.